Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial video, and today we're going to look at conditional formatting. Now, I have previously done a video on conditional formatting, an introduction to conditional formatting, plus a few of the more standard options. This is a continuation of that. So if you are new to conditional formatting, I'll put a link to that video in the description of this one, and I suggest you look at that first of all. This is going to be a few of the more advanced options maybe of conditional formatting. So conditional formatting allows you to highlight cells depending on the value of those cells. So on screen I've got some fictitious data, and I'm going to highlight some of the data in different ways. So first of all, I'm going to select a range of data, and then in the Home tab, I've got this conditional formatting option, and there's various standard options that I can select. So just as an example, as a quick example here, I can scale the colours between green, yellow and red, and if I hover over any of these, it shows an example of what the data will look like if I select that option. So in this case, the lowest numbers are going to be very red, the highest numbers are going to be very green, and then the numbers in between are going to be gradient colours depending on the value of those fields. So this is green, yellow and red, and to the right of that is the opposite, red, yellow and green. And then I've got also blue, white and red, red, white and blue. There's all sorts of options that are just out of the box in Excel. So I'm going to select this one here. Also, if I just click on this range here and I go to format cells, I've got this option of data bars, which is a way of highlighting either the complete cell or nothing, or something in between depending on the value of the data in the cell. So the largest value in the range will have a completely filled colour, and then depending on the value from that going downward, you're going to have a percent of it completed depending on the value. So these top 6 options here are gradient fills, where they go from very dark to very light of a particular colour, and the options below are solid fills, so it's all one colour regardless. Maybe the solid fill makes more sense, but the gradient fill just looks a little bit better, so I'm going to set this gradient fill. Now let's imagine I want to highlight duplicates. So I've got a great long list of data, and I want to find duplicates, maybe duplicate invoice numbers, maybe duplicate client names, maybe duplicate monetary values, dates, I don't know. If I were to highlight a range here, this range, and we go to conditional formatting, you've got all of these options here that pop up on the right hand side, but at the bottom of each of the options is this thing called more rules. So if I just click on more rules, it's going to bring up this little box here, and you've got in this top up section here, select a rule type, and one of them is format only unique or duplicate values. Perfect. So the first option you've got in here is duplicate or unique, and I want to highlight duplicate values. The next option is, how do you want to highlight them? What's the format going to be? So if I click on format, I've got all of these tabs here in which to format my cells, and I'm going to say let's have it to be a blue colour. I'm not going to format the border, but I will make it bold. If I click OK, you've got a preview of how it'll look, and I click OK again, and you can see it's highlighted the duplicate values. There's a 19, there's another 19, there's a 150, there's a 150 as well. And you'll also notice that we've got 2 lots of formatting in the same cell. So in each of these, we've got the formatting of the gradient as well as the formatting of the duplicate values. And if I were to change the values in here, so if I change that to be 85, suddenly that's no longer a duplicate, so it's no longer highlighted, and that's no longer highlighted. But then if I were to make that 90 to be 350, that's highlighted and that's highlighted. And I don't know whether you noticed, but the little gradient changes as well. So all of these things are dynamic depending on the values in the cells, and they will change depending on the values in the cells. Now let's think about another option where you can have little icons that indicate the value in the cell. So let me highlight this range here. If we go to formatting, let us then go to icon sets. Now we've got all sorts of icons that we can have that position themselves on the left hand side of the cells. So if I were just to hover over one of these, you can see now here little arrows appear, or the little circles appear, so it gives you an idea of what the data will look like if you select one of these options. So there's all sorts of different ways, different options available to you. All of these are kind of out the box and standard, so let me just select one of these. We'll just select that. I know what these arrows indicate just because I know what Excel's thinking, but generally the arrows might not mean a great deal to you out of the box. So what you are able to do is we can edit that rule, so we can look at the setup of that rule. So let me just go to conditional formatting, and we can go to manage rules. And now within manage rules, it looks at the rules that are available within our highlighted set of cells. So if I just close that and I go to highlight this range and go to manage rules, we'll get a different set of rules, because these two rules are applicable to this particular range. And if I go back to here and go to conditional formatting manage rules, these two rules are applicable to this range. So what I want to do is I want to edit this icon set. So if I click on it and click on edit rule, it now tells me a little bit more about it, and it says, okay, what this means is the green arrow is when the value is 75% of the largest number in the range. So the largest number is 1734. It highlights anything that is within 75% of that value to have an upper green arrow. Okay, that's good. So let me click OK on that. And OK on that. If I change this to be 1500, there you go. Now a green arrow. So that we can see that's working fine. If I now go to manage rules, select my rule and edit it, you can see the setup of the other ones here, but we can change it. We can say, actually, all I'm interested in is I want that to be within 90%. And you can see as I change that 90, this little 90 changes here. So if I change that to be 60, this 50 should change to 60. You see that? And if I change that to be 30, then I click off it, that changes to 30. So what this is now saying is a green arrow will be greater than 90% of the largest number. An upward orange arrow is greater than 60% but less than 90%, and you can see how that kind of changes. So it begins here. Is it greater than 90%? Yep, let's give it a green arrow. If it's not, is it greater than 60%? Yep, let's give it this arrow. And if I click OK to that, we should see a couple of changes. Well, you can see that arrow changed. So if I highlight this range again, maybe we don't want the green arrow to be on the largest number. Maybe we want the green arrow to be on the lowest number and the red arrow to be on the highest number. So if we go to formatting, manage rules, highlight this rule and edit this rule, we've got an option of reverse the icon order. So if we click on that, and you can see that this is now reversed. We click OK, we click OK, and you can see now that our arrows are the opposite way around. We can also go to manage rules, select our rule, and we can say show only the icon. So that's all right. Click OK to that and OK to that. And now the values have gone. Maybe the icon is all you need to see in order to make whatever judgment you need to make. Anyway, let's put that back to how it was. So another option is maybe you don't want it to be a percent. Maybe you want it to be greater than a particular number. So let us change this from percent to be a number as an example. And what we're going to say is we're going to we're going to change the order, so we're going from green arrow to red arrow, and we'll say if it's greater than 1,000, we want it to be that. If it's greater than 750, we want it to be that arrow. If it's greater than 500, we want it to be that arrow. If it's less than 500, we want it to be the downward arrow, and we'll click OK to that. And now as we change this maybe to 550, you'll see that the arrow changes, and if that's over 750, the arrow changes, and also the colours are changed ever so slightly as well, the gradient colours, as we change these things, because everything's dynamic. What we can also say though is, I'm going to put our kind of accepted range in these cells here. So I2, I3 and I4. And then if I highlight this, if we go to Format and Manage Rules, we can say, instead of it being 1,000, we can say equals I2. I click OK to that. Let me try that again. Oh, oops, I think I don't need the try that again. That's better. Okay, I'll show you what I needed to do in just a second. So if I do that I2, if we just go back to Manage Rules, edit that rule. So I did put it in double quotes. It doesn't want double quotes. I then put I2. It didn't accept I2. What it needed was dollar column, dollar row. So if I just do $= and then my I column, dollar, and the row 3. If I do the same thing here, $I, $4, that should be accepted. The dollar is says that the column and the row values are fixed. There's another video on that, but it just means that it's always going to be I4 in this case. It's always going to be I3 and I2. So we click OK. What should happen is, if I now change these values to say that's going to be greater than 1200, then the value of this arrow should change. So if I change that to be, then you can see that arrow changes. And if I put this down to be, let's think that's 350. So if I put that to be 300, the value of this arrow should change. So you can see that arrow there change. Now we've made it dynamic based on these values here. The last thing to note is, you know, like I said, you can have multiple rules in here. So if we go to our Manage Rules, there are multiple rule sets here. If I didn't want those icons anymore, I didn't want the gradient, well, I can delete that rule. And that's all good. There's just our rule here. But if I wanted to get rid of all of the rules, maybe I wanted to get rid of all the rules completely, if we go to Conditional Formatting, Clear Rules, and then I've got an option of Selected Cells or Entire Sheet. I'll select Entire Sheet, and all of the rules are gone. That's the end of this video. I hope it was helpful. Any comments, all feedback's appreciated. Thanks a lot for your time. See you next time.